Okay, welcome everybody to our January 25th meeting. It's good to see you guys all virtually. I'm going to just start off with a reminder that we will be virtual next week as well on February 1st, but starting on February 8th, we will be back in person in COB 103, College of Business 103. Everybody got it? Hit me with a thumbs up emoji if you or an actual thumbs up, either is fine. Okay, also, since we are virtual, I talked to Justin Melendez. He has an extenuating circumstance and can have his video off, but the rest of you guys, if you can turn your video on for me, that would be great. Let me go ahead and share the agenda. Can you guys see that okay? Awesome. Okay, so we will start, let's see, with the approval of the minutes. You guys should have gotten that. I'm not going to pull them up, but you guys should have received those via email. So does anybody have questions before we vote on that? Okay. All right, then all in favor of approving last week's minutes, please do a thumb up emoji. Okay. All right, great. Any opposed, do a different emoji. And any abstentions. All right, awesome. Let's move along here. Okay, so we do not have, well, let's see, moving on to open forum. Is anybody here for open forum? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to officer reports since we do not have anybody for speaker's podium. So I'll go first. It has been a pretty busy week for me. We've been getting prepared for some spring events and things. I had to train Landry on how to take over for a couple of different committees. Last week I met with the staff senate president and a couple of different students and things like that. So I've just been staying busy, getting our roster up to date. So if you have not accepted Engage membership, which I think most everyone has, make sure you do that. That allows us to accurately represent our organization out to the different students. And that's about it for me. Landry?
This is kind of a busy week for me too. As Casey mentioned, I met with her to be trained on a position that she used to occupy on strategic planning and QEP, and hopefully I can do a good job. But and then I also created Excel sheets for tracking attendance on committees, just to in case there's anybody that's missing, for several, like 3 or more meetings, then we'll be able to know and see if they're okay and stuff. And then other than that, I got a meeting tomorrow with the strategic planning committee, and yeah.
Sweet. Ashley?
This week I finished the minutes, or I guess it's like this week and last week. I've been on the website. Everybody should be updated. I'm gonna have to update it again after tonight. The judicial board is on there now. I made a post about SGAC, and then communications met yesterday. So that's pretty much all I've been doing this week. And we have the city council meeting tomorrow.
Okay, is Ord here? I did not see him. Okay, well, I will just speak on his behalf. We're trying to get SGAC up and going, so if you're on that committee, expect to receive communication if you haven't already about meeting. So keep that on your radar. And he'll have a budget presentation coming up hopefully next week about our spring budget. Okay, and then last but not least for officer reports, Robert?
So I've just been making sure that we've been going through and getting stuff set it up. We had our first meeting for Rules Committee earlier this week, and we're getting ready for the City Council meeting tomorrow. And I've been working closely with Casey and Landry and Ashland to make sure that stuff that we need to get done, get done.
Absolutely. Moving on to committee reports, events committee.
So we just met, and we discussed, potentially doing a SGA community service project, and we'll have more information for the Senate on that, by next meeting, probably. And, we also mentioned about doing some sort of, social, perhaps virtually, so we can have everybody from, all campuses, and maybe do something like a trivia or Netflix streaming party kind of thing. And then we also discussed, I think that was actually all that we discussed today. Yeah, that was pretty much all we discussed today.
Communications.
This week we met yesterday, and we pretty much just talked about what we need to post, and we decided that we wanted to post the link that has all the COVID information that Valerie had brought up last week, and Valerie sent it to me. And so I'll get a post on the social media probably Thursday.
Okay, great. SGAC hasn't met, so rules.
So like I said earlier, we had our first meeting this week. We discussed how we would go about Rules Committee during the semester, how each of us would want to do stuff going forward. And we're getting started on multiple parts pertaining to the election, and also the stuff that Landry introduced at the end of the last semester. And so we'll be getting started on that starting next week.
Great. Okay, I'll report for ESC. I'm also going to do a poll right now about the Kahoot versus Netflix watch party. So if y'all want to do that while I'm talking. Okay, so for the Environmental Sustainability Committee, I still haven't received any interest about chairing that committee. I really need someone to take that up. It's not a lot of work. And we already have a lot of ideas in place from David that we just need someone to help us implement. So if you're interested in that, please contact me. If you're in that committee right now and that's your sole committee, we need to get that going. So whether we have a chair or not, if you guys will coordinate with Landry on getting meetings up and going, that really needs to be happening. Understood? Awesome. Thanks. Okay. So Landry, for your information, it looks like Kahoot Trivia won with 13 votes. Netflix Watch Party, 9 votes. And 2 people had other ideas. So there you go. Okay, moving right along to student voice reports. This week we have the College of Arts and Sciences, which is Chloe, and Daniel, and the College of Business, which is currently, where is everybody? Brandon and Adon. So, College of Arts and Sciences, who would like to go first? Chloe's are up.
Okay, we couldn't really hear you. You kind of cut out. So, well, I think you told us to go. Okay, so I don't really have anything to add. All my classes that I would have in the College of Arts and Sciences are currently on Zoom, and those have been going pretty well. My classes are small and my teachers are pretty engaging. So it's been fine, but I miss being in person. So
The main thing I have is being math And I know like most math teachers, having spoken to them, have kept their classes in person. And there's been mixed views on that from what I've heard. Some people like it because they say math is like impossible to do on Zoom. Other people are like, well, they should be following a bit more what the college is saying. But pretty much every single math class has stayed in person throughout the board, whether it's math major classes or just like pre-calc and business math. So.
Thank you. Daniel?
So I know I did get to spend a little bit of time over in the College of Arts and Sciences over the last week and then the first part of this week. And there's not a whole lot of students that are out and about within the building. But I know I did have a conversation with Dr. Guterjean about getting some more additional items taken care of upstairs. They are looking at adding a few more artifacts upstairs, and hopefully that will also be able to increase student traffic flow within the College of Arts and Sciences over the next several weeks. So everybody's still remaining cautious, but we're trying to increase the number of students that are out and about and utilizing the study spaces that are available.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the College of Business.
Sorry, I was typing a message. Not much really to report here from students. I hear a lot of really just complaints from to the university saying that they should just make a decision whether they're going to be online or in person, which is I feel like is going to be all over the entire campus. And so I've been hearing it a lot, especially at I guess at mine, just because it's really just stagnated. It's like a draw. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just like a draw whether you're going to be in person or not. Other than that, we have a dean now. It's no longer interim dean Chris Wimberge. It is now Dean Chris Wimberge. Super cool. I've met with him plenty of times before, so I'm gonna go ahead. I haven't met with him since he's been officially dean, but that's super cool to hear that we finally have a dean after not having one set in stone since I think 2020. So, yeah.
Okay, Brandon?
Yeah, really, other than what Adon said, not much else to add. Personally, my entire department has gone online, so I haven't been at the actual college much, but I have heard people complaining on whether or not, like, because in other departments in college business, it's kind of just if they want to go online or not, so it's kind of scattered.
Awesome, thank you. Valerie, go ahead.
So the girls' bathroom on I think that's just the second floor of the nursing building. As of like Thursday, Friday last week, there was no toilet paper in one of the stalls and no like female hygiene products in the bathroom. I'm not sure who to contact about that, but the last time I checked, there was none of that in there.
It would be Andy Krause in facilities, but since I know him, I can email him and I'll copy you on it.
Awesome, thank you.
You said the second floor of RBN?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. And so, based on what the College of Arts and Science senators had to say, it sounds like the biggest desire from students right now in terms of online versus in-person education is just consistent communication one way or the other. Would you guys be in agreement with that? Okay, awesome. I'm glad to hear that because that was what I picked up from conversations that I've had, and I've already passed that feedback on both to the Faculty Senate President, Dr. Sass, and to the President himself. So hopefully if we ever have a situation like this again, that will be the case. I told the President about, a personal situation where I have one class that stayed in person, and then 5 minutes later I have a class via Zoom. So it's nearly impossible for me to get switched over and set up my computer in that amount of time. So he said, that he's aware that students are dealing with situations like that and that he's aware for any time this may arise again. So thank you guys for that feedback. Okay, moving on to old business. Does anyone have anything that we need to bring up? Sure, Beverly.
Oh, the door button thing is working now, so it's all good.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us know. Okay, does anyone have anything else?
Very cool turnaround on the amount of time it took to repair the gate at Liberty. I came in one night, it was like a stub of a gate, and then the next night it was a real gate again.
Fantastic. Safety first. Okay, seeing nothing else, I'm going to move on to new business. So the first up on the new business agenda, I'd like to entertain a motion to discuss a senator nomination or senator nominations.
Carrie said motion.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you. So we have two different senators on the docket for tonight. We will start with Ms. Holman. Welcome. So
Hello.
she is going for the vacant College of Education and Psychology seat. And I met with her prior to this to kind of go over the requirements for a senator position and make sure that she was kind of aware of what it takes and what the organization is about. So I'll give her an opportunity to introduce herself. And then as per usual, you guys will get an opportunity to ask a few questions. Everybody clear? Awesome. All right, you have the floor.
I'm Kina. I was born in Belgium and I moved to the US whenever I was 4. I went to high school in Eustis, Texas, and I graduated with my associate's degree from TVCC, and I also work as an admissions officer there part-time. I served on the local SGA board as a parliamentarian for the past year and a half until I came here. I just love being involved in student life and activity and just getting to know people. Joining student government's always been a good chance just to kind of reach out and get to know like your community for me.
Absolutely. If you have a question for Kina, if you'll just raise your hand, use the raise hand function because that makes it pop up to the top of my screen. Okay, go ahead, Daniel.
What is your major here at the university?
My major is psychology.
Beverly?
Hey, I was wondering if you're interested in or in other organizations on campus.
Yes, I have not actually heard about, like, I do not know for sure as to what different organizations are on campus, but I was hoping like maybe coming up to like the office on Wednesday and discussing that, or if we had like an actual list of organizations, I would look into that.
Yep, both. We'd be glad to show you the list or engage, but we also, as SGA members, we're through the Department of Student Engagement. So Beverly and I and a few others all work in the office that can tell you. So we'd be glad to get you connected with other additional student orgs.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Valerie?
What change, if any, that you can think of, would you like to see on campus?
A kind of a big thing for me kind of goes back to the uncertainty. A thing that I always like is having the available option to always have a Zoom. That way, in case like a student gets sick or if you just don't feel safe coming to class while also having in-person classes. But another thing for me, like transferring here without knowing anybody or never even visiting the campus, I feel like it could be a little bit clearer, like the instructions for like where to park or campus directory.
Great feedback. Okay, we'll take these last 3 questions and then that's going to be it. So Daniel, Justin, and then Z.
So you mentioned that you had been involved before with a student government organization. So here on our campus, were any of the committees, did any of them stand out to you? If so, which ones and why?
I'm really interested in the Environmental Protection Committee. I think that's the proper term for it. Because we've always tried at my college and my high school to like get recycling programs in place, because we see how much like plastic has been wasted from water bottles from organizations such as band, athletics, at sporting events, but we haven't ever been able to get like a program in place because there hasn't been like a recycling center nearby close enough, because it would just end up costing more money and gas to deliver those products rather than to actually recycle them.
Understandable. Justin?
Why UT Tyler?
I chose UT Tyler because it was a bit closer for me. I don't live on campus. I live over about in Palestine, so it's like an hour and 10 minutes. And I just seen so many people go there and they've actually enjoyed it. So I had a few people like Jade and a few students that I know that go to the BCM that have enjoyed it. I really thought about going to Stephen F. Austin, but when I was looking at UT Tyler, I saw that they had specialized programs for psychology, and that they also have like, it was kind of more what I wanted at the end of the day.
Sure. Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank
And
you.
last but not least, Z.
I don't know if you already said this and I just like didn't hear it, but what grade are you in?
I believe I'm a junior.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, Keenan, so the way it will work is I'm going to put you in a waiting room while all the senators deliberate and vote. And then once they've come to a determination, I'll let you back in, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Of course. All right, does anyone have any questions or comments about Keena? Oh, okay, Z, do you have another point? Oh my goodness,
Oh wait, sorry, I just forgot to unmute.
you're good. Chloe and Chloe.
Yeah, like you said in the chat, Casey, I think it's really interesting that she's super interested in the environmental stuff, and we had the vacancy in that position. So I was wondering if like you think that she would be
Make a chat.
yeah.
Potentially, I promise that was not intentional. I did not know that prior to
No,
this.
that was so cool. I told Chloe whenever she said that, I was like,
I know.
perfect. And you put
She
it in the
said that, I
chat.
was like, ooh, I didn't plan this. But yeah,
Oh.
potentially, and even if she doesn't want to do that, I think that committee has a lot of room for growth. And I actually chaired that committee a couple of years ago. And so it has a special place in my heart. And I always want to see it be successful and not just something we talk about. And
Right.
so I think that, you know, whether she chairs it or not, she'll bring an energy to that committee to continue some of the things that David was looking at doing.
That's awesome.
Daniel?
I think based on her previous experience working with student government at her previous institution is going to end up playing in and being very beneficial to us, especially since she's already experienced it at a different institution. She might be able to bring some fresh ideas from that over here to our group. So I think she'd be a great addition.
Yeah, they do things a lot differently from what I've heard from her. So I'll be interested to learn more about that. And then Justin.
I just got to say that I have class with Kina, and she had reached out to me about joining SGA, and she seemed like really like
Justin, you cut out.
to, yeah, never mind.
You cut off where it said, and she seemed
Really what?
really.
Oh, like, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I just said it seemed like she seemed pretty like enthusiastic and energetic about joining like SGA. So I thought that she would be a good addition.
Great. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything before we vote? All right. Fantastic. So if you are in favor of voting for Kina to fill the vacant College of Education Psychology seat, please do a thumbs up emoji. Okay. And if you are opposed, please do a different emoji. And any abstentions. All right. I will let her back in, and then since we can't really clap without breaking the audio, we will just give her, what?
What seat was she going for?
College of Education and Psychology.
Okay.
When I admit her, we'll just give her a round of virtual applause with clap emojis. Okay? All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, hold on, she's joining. Woo! Okay.
The silent claps, they're just
It breaks the audio if we have 40 people actively clapping. So based on the welcoming round of clap emojis, I'm sure that you can tell, but we did vote to bring you into the College of Education and Psychology Senator family. So welcome, we're glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Everybody send Kina a welcoming, nice note in the chat. Okay, moving on, we have another senator nomination for tonight. Shelby Kitt, she's been in a student body at large senator seat and resigned from that position in order to request the vacant College of Nursing and Health Sciences seat. So currently she is not a senator. We will go through this process as if she was someone we did not know at all. So is everybody kind of clear on what's going on? I can't tell. No one is giving me any indicating. All right, great. Okay, so Shelby, we do know you, but if you'd like to take a moment to tell us why you're wanting to switch, I think that would be a beneficial.
Okay, well, hi. Kina, nice to meet you. I'm Shelby. For the rest of you, y'all pretty much all know me, I think. I am a pre-nursing major right now, so I'm in the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, or will be soon. I think my biggest thing right now is, as we've talked about in the past, there's been a turnover with advising, and so I'm really passionate about like trying to help that out and get that like back in order. I just want to be an advocate for the students in the nursing and health sciences building, and that's pretty much it.
Sure. Does anyone have any questions for Shelby? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Valerie.
Hey, Shelby. So, what if any like problems do you foresee going ahead in the nursing process? Because I know it was a real struggle for me because I was in your position just last semester. But do you foresee any problems, and how are you planning to approach those problems, if any?
I guess just with advising, I know that we do the weekly meetings with the dean. I'm just wanting to be able to help out advisors as much as I can to kind of like get them back in the, I guess, kind of routine of the nursing program. I know that with me applying to nursing school right now and like starting that process starting in the summer, hopefully, I think it's going to be cool to see kind of how the advisors work throughout my process of starting nursing school, and I'm excited to kind of compare that difference to how people in the past with the older advisors have applied and been admitted and things like that.
Yeah, one thing that's also interesting, Valerie, have you met Angie Copeland yet?
She introduced herself at orientation. She seems really good at her job.
So she's like, Josh, you may be able to clarify her actual title, but essentially she's managing nursing advising. So definitely going forward, we always encourage senators to meet at least once a semester with the dean of your college. But for nursing, I think it would definitely be beneficial to meet with her as well. So that's just sort of a side note. Anybody else have questions for Shelby before we move her into the waiting room?
I just have a comment, Shelby. If you need help applying, please let me and Justin know because it's a whole process.
Thank you.
Director of Nursing Advising, that's Angie's title. Awesome. Okay, then Shelby, I'm going to move you into the waiting room. All right. She's gone. Any thoughts or questions? Go ahead, Valerie.
Well, she, I think, is planning to take my seat in the advising committee, which thank you, because I'm just not having time. But I think she's going to be a really great addition to the nursing people.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, then let's vote. All in favor, please do a thumbs up emoji. Okay. All opposed, do a different emoji. And any abstentions? Okay, all right. You guys know the drill. I will let her in and then we'll give her a round of virtual applause. 3, 2, 1. All right, awesome. This virtual applause is killing me. It is just hilarious. All right, so Shelby, welcome back to the Senate as a College of Nursing and Health Sciences Senator. We're excited to have you in this new role, and I'm sure that you'll work well with Valerie and Justin to make sure our nursing students are well represented.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
All right, that's all I have as far as senators. So I'd like to entertain a motion to close discussion on this topic.
Carrie said
You vote them
motion.
in.
Seconded.
Do what, Ashlyn?
You need to swear them in. Or are you gonna wait?
Yeah, yes, I'm going to wait. Okay. Was that motion and seconded? I'm sorry, I got distracted. All right, awesome. So the other thing on my radar is the judicial board. So I'd like to entertain a motion to discuss the judicial board appointment.
Carrie said motion.
Seconded.
Awesome. Okay, so Kellen Arnold was a Patriot Village senator and she resigned due to the fact that she has class at the time of our meetings. However, she expressed interest in joining the judicial board to fill the remaining vacant seat. So I would like to nominate her for that position. She's not here to speak since she has class, but you guys have worked with her before. So if you guys have any questions, you're welcome to ask me. Otherwise, we'll move into a vote. No questions? Okay, then in that case, all in favor of approving Kellen Arnold as a justice in the judicial board, do a thumbs up emoji. All opposed, do a different emoji. And any abstentions. Okay, awesome. Robert, will you let her know, please? Not like immediately, just in general. Awesome. Okay, then I'd like to entertain a motion to close discussion on this topic.
Carrie said motion. Seconded.
Fantastic. Okay, and then as Ashlyn said, we do need to swear in our senators, so we only have 2. Are you guys okay if I allow them to go separately so they can actually speak? Okay, awesome. I just think it's more personal that way. So we'll go ahead and swear in Kina first. So I'll share my screen with the oath on it. And the way it will work is I'll repeat a portion of it and then you will repeat it back. The insert name portion, of course, you'll say your name, and then for insert position, you'll say College of Education and Psychology Senator, or Senator for the College of Education and Psychology, whichever. Okay. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
All right. So here's the oath here. Go ahead and raise your right hand. I, insert name,
I, Keena Holman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I shall faithfully represent
that I shall faithfully represent
the interests of the student body
the interest of the student body
of the University of Texas at Tyler.
of the University of Texas at Tyler.
I shall dutifully uphold and preserve
I shall dutifully uphold and preserve
the Constitution and bylaws
the Constitution and bylaws
of the Student Government Association
of the Student Government Association
while ardently executing the office of insert position
the office of Senator of Education of Psychology
for the student body
for the student body
at the University of Texas at Tyler.
at the University of Texas at Tyler.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
I'm sure
you.
that Brennan and Justin will welcome you to their team. Okay, next up is Shelby. Where's Shelby on my screen? Oh, I see you now. Okay. All right, so again, insert your name, you'll say your name, insert position, you'll say Senator for the College of Nursing and Health Sciences. All right. All right, raise your right hand. I, insert name,
I, Shelby Kipp,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I shall faithfully represent
that I shall faithfully represent
the interests of the student body
the interest of the student body
of the University of Texas at Tyler.
of the University of Texas at Tyler.
I shall dutifully uphold and preserve
I shall dutifully uphold and preserve
the Constitution and bylaws
the Constitution and bylaws
of the Student Government Association
of the Student Government Association
while ardently executing the office of insert position
the office of Senator for the College of Nursing and Health Sciences
for the student body
for the student body
at the University of Texas at Tyler.
at the University of Texas at Tyler.
Great. Congratulations again. Okay. Moving on down the agenda. There are a couple of different conversations that we as an e-board thought that it would be good to have. These are mainly about getting feedback from you guys, so this is just an open discussion. So moving on down to C, I'd like to entertain a motion to discuss dining dollars.
Carrie said motion.
Second.
Okay. Landry, since this was sort of your concept, would you like to start?
Sure. So just to make it brief and simple, again, we're not really like voting on anything. I just kind of wanted to get everybody's opinions, but I've had multiple students come up to me and have asked to for a variety of different things involving like dining dollars and meal plans. And one of the things that's frequently asked is whether or not the school could have it to where dining dollars roll over to the next semester. Now, that wouldn't necessarily mean that it would roll over from the spring semester to the fall, but from the fall to the spring. Some of the reasons that I've heard for that is because some students will have semesters where they have more in-person classes, and so therefore they're usually on campus more and end up spending more of their money. And then other semesters, students will have it to where they don't have as many in-person classes and they don't end up spending as much of their dining dollars, and so they kind of have a surplus. And so for whenever they do have a semester that they have more in person, if that rolls over, it favors them nicely. And then I've also had students ask whether or not they could have maybe like a miniature kind of meal plan that almost supplements like say the Blue Meal plan or something like that. And because again, there's also those students that have like no money at the end of it. And the response would be that, well, students could just pay out of pocket for that. But for students that may be on like financial aid and stuff like that, that's again something that they're paying out of pocket for. So if they could be able to use maybe financial aid money to kind of cover that, again, this is also a hard topic for SGA to talk about because it's not necessarily something that we can just vote on and change. It's obviously a bunch of stuff that's done with Sodexo, with the contract that we have with them. If anything was going to be recommended, it would probably be recommended, and then whether or not faculty or admin wanted to take that into consideration, they could. But at the very least, this is just a conversation just to kind of get an idea of what maybe y'all have heard from other students or what opinions y'all have on it. Those are just a few of the things I've heard, and I thought it might be something worth talking about. So. If anybody has any opinions, feel free.
Yeah, I've definitely heard stuff about dining dollars, the exact same thing. They want it to roll over. They would like different levels of plans. Like I know people who are like, I am being forced to buy this plan with X amount of dining dollars, but I'm not using them. For my Met swipes, I'm not using them. I'd like to see if I can get a lower plan, but my base plan is X,
Mhm.
I know I've heard a lot of different students that have, what Jacqueline said, right there at the end of the semester, they all have to rush to go and buy everything. And a lot of students complain because those that like budgeted out their money, they go and like have to wait in line for up to an hour at the Swoop and Go because everybody's buying like cases upon cases of stuff, and they're just there to get like one drink. So I know that I have had students complain about that. And then if it could roll over from fall to spring, that would be great. I don't think necessarily it would be that beneficial to roll over from the spring to the fall, but definitely in between that semester gap would be nice.
Yeah.
Can I go?
Go ahead,
Able
go.
to use them during the summer. Okay, Z is up next on my screen.
Okay.
Oh wait, do I go?
Yeah, if you
Okay.
would like to speak, use the raise hand emoji because that makes you pop up to the top of my screen, and I'll just go down the row. So Z is next.
Like I've actually talked about this a lot because at ePine, I know like everyone has their like kitchen and stuff, so you don't really use the Faro box and the Met swipes all that much. I just kind of use it for snacking. So I think rolling it over would be a good idea, or like transferring it so it's like more useful per student would be a good idea.
Okay, B, you're up next.
Yeah, I know I work for Sodexo, so there's like a lot of little things in place and behind the scenes for the reason that things are done the way they're done. But they've got to do something with the Met swipes because like you get like 40 a week if you live in O-Hall. And anytime I go into the Met, they're like, you don't have to pay for the Met because you work there. And so I'm wasting like $600 for these Met swipes that I never use because they refuse to take my card. That's a different thing. But like there's got to be a way we can build our own plans or something because like some people never eat at the Met. Like that's their choice. They have a kitchen in their apartment or they just don't like the food they serve or whatever, but they're forced to have all these Met swipes that just get wasted. That's wasted money on, and I personally just don't ever eat at the Met if I'm not like on the clock. But the rolling over would be helpful, like somebody said earlier, because sometimes I do have a lot of classes in person, so I'll go and hang out in the UC for a little bit, grab something to eat, and then go to class, or vice versa. And then I have like $200 at the end of the semester because I'm just one person and I can't eat that much food, and it's just a waste of money.
Sure. Beverly?
I was thinking it was a great idea. I like the idea of it rolling into the spring. Definitely not spring to fall. And I feel like if you're graduating in the fall, you should expect to use it all by the end of the semester. I know for me, I usually have a lot left over because I'm only here during the weekends and I don't buy groceries, so I go to the Met and I get food over there. So I think it'd be a good idea to implement if we could.
Okay. Valerie?
I'm gonna be real honest. I think the meal plans, the way they're structured, are fine the way they are. You get to pay however much. I think that the school has that set in place because it works for their budget. So in terms of like building your own meal plan, I don't necessarily agree with that. I like it the way it is, and I think the school, it works for them. Now with the rolling over, I do agree with that, just because you're paying the same amount of money either way. So rolling over the $9, the school is still getting that money, if that makes sense, because you paid for it. So I mean, I don't see a problem financially for a reason why they wouldn't roll over.
Yeah. The only thing, it would be an extra burden on student business services to manually roll that money over. So we'd have to figure that out. Kina?
So do meal plans come included with the dorms, or like do you have to buy a different meal plan separately? Or do you even have to buy a meal plan at all if you're staying in the dorms?
You're required to have a meal plan if you live on campus housing.
Could we maybe see about doing something to where a meal plan is not required, because there's students that do have kitchens and cooking supplies, and that could save them a lot of money. And also, can you like actually like pay to eat at the Met like with a debit or credit card or cash?
You can pay in all of the facilities with a credit card.
Then I don't know. I just think personally that would save students that don't eat at the Met a whole lot of money if they if they had the option to not buy a meal plan while living in the dorms.
That's an interesting idea. Brennan?
All right, I feel like you should be able to like buy dining dollars like as the semester goes along, because once you run out, yeah, like you're just out of dining dollars. But I know like the e-accounts app, it has the Add Patriot Bucks, which I have no idea what those are. But I feel like it should add like an option to where you could pay for more dining dollars like as the semester goes on, if that makes any sense.
Patriot Bucks was the old P2 cards, part of the ones we have now, used to have two stripes, one for dining dollars and one for Patriot Bucks, which is actual money that you or your parents could load onto it. So that's what that is. I'm gonna let Ashlyn go and then Chloe and Chloe.
If we were to all agree on this, what would be a plan of action to take this to the university and talk to them about it? Like, how would we go about approaching this?
It depends on what exactly we were deciding, because if it was, we don't require meal plans if you live in housing, that's one thing. If it's, we need the dining dollars to roll over, that's another thing, so. I would just set up a meeting with them and discuss it. Or invite them to the Senate. Does that answer your question? Okay. Chloe and Chloe?
I just wanted to add the rolling over. I think that's a good idea because my freshman year especially, I did not budget my dining dollars well. I think like my first semester, I like completely ran out like really early, and then my second semester I didn't use them and then had a lot left over. So I think they should roll over. But the other thing is skeptical if people should be required to buy a meal plan if they live on campus. Just because like if people don't eat at the Met, they don't eat at the Met. But the other thing is too is like I was telling Chloe, like the workers, like the Sodexo workers and the merchandise for the on-campus stuff, like they have to meet a quota, and our money like ahead of time in our dining dollars paying for that like helps them meet that quota. So I think taking that away would probably cause some setbacks. So I think I'm for still having to pay for the meal plan, but also for having the dining dollars for like the soup store and stuff roll over.
Okay. This has been really helpful. If you have any additional thoughts or you think of something really important, just shoot me a text or an email. Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion to close discussion on this topic.
Carrie said motion.
Okay. Going back to the agenda, the last thing on new business is a Liberty Landing conversation. So I would like to entertain a motion to open discussion about Liberty Landing.
Carrie said motion.
Seconded.
Okay. Okay, so this conversation, I want to focus specifically on a couple of things. Number one, the bike racks and parking spots. Number two, the basketball court. And that's about it, I think. Was there anything else, Landry, that we wanted to talk about Liberty, or just those two things?
I believe it was those two things, but I mean, if there's like something else.
Yes, I do actually have one other thing. Okay, so let's start with those two. I want to keep this discussion limited because obviously not everyone lives in Liberty Landing. But if you do and you have thoughts on either the new bike racks or the location of the basketball court, let me know. Raise your hand, use your raise hand emoji. All right, starting off strong. Go ahead, Daniel.
So I live in building 1 over here at Liberty. So I
Okay,
know
just a
that
second. Landry, will you make some notes as they talk about things? Okay, because we're meeting with the interim director of housing on Thursday. Go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, so I live in building 1 over here at Liberty. So I know that the placement of the basketball court in between buildings 1 and 2 is a very large inconvenience because whenever we come in to get to where you park for building 1, you have to go all the way back to like building 6 before you can cut across. And then you have to drive all the way back up to get back to the parking spots because it's not really that feasible to park anywhere else. I do know that there are 2 or 3 students that are in building 1 that because of the basketball court have just said, screw that and parked out here in like the visitor parking lot. And yeah, they've been written like 2 or 3 tickets, but their cost benefit of that is they'd rather pay the tickets than have to drive like a whole quarter mile just to get to parking spots. And then every time that you leave or come back. So I know that there's been several students that have done that. But I know that the basketball courts are a very large inconvenience, as well as the placement of the the bike racks. I think a better explanation or a better opportunity for that could possibly be to put those underneath the stairs where students aren't supposed to be anyway. So we could put the bike racks there as a method to get them out of the parking lot and then as well as keep them out of the walkways. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Yeah. Okay, Soren?
Yeah, so about the bike racks, I would assume the problem is that, it's taking up parking spots. There's 2 of them that I know of. I think there might be more, and they both take up 2 parking spots each, so that's 4 parking spots. So that's not a very good thing if that's a problem for people, but for bikes, we can't have them anywhere else other than those bike racks. There is one bike rack that's way up at the gate, but it's kind of far away, and those are the only ones that are close. And if our bikes aren't there, they actually will be removed by the Liberty Landing staff. So it's just like people who have bikes don't have a choice to put their bikes there. And yeah, I don't know who made the decision to install them there, but they're required to be used by people who ride bikes. So
That's good information. Thank you. Josh and Bryce?
So as far as the bike racks, they definitely could have done a better job thinking about where to put them. I don't know why they took up parking spots for that. And then the basketball courts, I'm probably in the minority here. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you're already in your car. You're not walking. It's not that big of an inconvenience for you. And I do know that people use it. So they could have done a little bit better job placing that too. But I mean, the whole part, like they would rather have a parking ticket than drive an extra 200 feet. I don't understand that at all. That's just them being stubborn, in my opinion.
Thanks. Adon?
I'm not upset that there's a bike rack right outside my window that I can just look at. I just think it's a matter of communication. There was no communication that bike racks were going to be put up in parking spots. I was in my apartment one day. You know, I came back from the university, and then I go outside to, I don't know, probably go to BJ's or something, and there's a bike rack there. They were cerebral about it. I didn't hear a sound. I just walked outside and a bike rack had just appeared out of thin air. And I checked my email to see, I'm like, okay, maybe they told nothing. They just installed a bike rack where my roommate usually parks, and it's just, I just wish I would have known. I don't really care that it's there. You know, it's probably there to deter thieves, because I know a bike has been stolen at Liberty on more than one occasion. Having it out in the open makes it less likely to go for it. But it also takes up 2 spaces. It's shaped like this. If you just turn it 90 degrees, it would take up 1 space. And there's a sidewalk right next to it as well. So a whole bunch of better decisions could have been made. But I just wish they would have told me, is my takeaway.
Okay, so 2 thoughts on that before I go to the next person. Number one, I'm sure there are regulations on where they can be installed, and I imagine that that's why they're not on the sidewalk, because that's an accessibility issue. And number two, that was the original complaint about the basketball court as well, is the fact that I distinctly remember receiving an email that summer that said that it was closed for temporary construction, and then it ended up being a very permanent basketball course, which is fine, court, because a lot of students do get use out of it, but that's sort of misleading. So anyway, moving on. Jacqueline, Liberty Landing Senator. So therefore, valuable opinion.
Thank you. In terms of the bike storage, I don't personally have a bike, but I have seen people, someone has tied a bike to the staircase inside of my building. I'm in 6. So on like a lower level, I also see people putting their bikes on their patios or their balconies and just carrying it like that instead of actually, attaching it to a rack. And with the basketball hoop stuff, because this has been an issue since the beginning of the last semester. And when we brought housing in, they were like, this is an SGA problem. SGA has brought this up. So how exactly we can get other help with this on dealing with the whole parking situation may be an issue. But I do know that there are people consistently using it, and it does seem to be beneficial, but not in a sense for convenience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chloe.
Oh, you're muted. Sorry, I accidentally put my hand down instead of pressing unmute. So I have something about the bike racks and the basketball hoop. So for the bike racks, I get why they're in the street, because they can't be on the sidewalk. And my first thought too was to put them under the stairs, because that's where people go anyways. But I think there was someone who lived upstairs from me, but they put their bike like attached to that little fenced area underneath the bike, and I used to run into it every single day. So I don't really particularly want them underneath the stairs. So that's just me. And then for the basketball courts, this may be a long shot, but I did have a thought. What if it had like hours of operation where those barriers are put up? You still can't park there, but if there were like hours of operation that were maybe like sent out so people know like you can drive through at this time and this time. So like if people are coming back from work at like 8 p.m., they know the basketball court's not going to be set up at that time, and they can just drive straight through. Or like sometimes I'm bringing my teammates home from the grocery store, and I live in 8 and they live in 1, and I just have to drop them off at the front, and it's like they're carrying these water jugs and like they can't. So I either have to park there or take them all the way around. So I just think maybe hours of operation where the gates are up. That's just my thought.
That's not a bad idea, even if we just limited. I don't know. I feel like most of the times that we would consider would be like right before work time and right after work time, but there aren't really people playing basketball at those hours. So I don't know that that would super help. Plus, those barriers are super heavy to move twice a day. So I don't know. Let me think on that one. Okay, let's get Soren and then Daniel, and then we'll move on. And if you have more thoughts, you're welcome to text or email me. Soren.
Yeah, just really quickly. So like for the bike regulations, you are allowed to store your bike inside the balcony so to where people can see it, but you are not allowed to store it outside the balcony. So just in case y'all are wondering. And actually last year, they told me that they would send me an email about the date that the bike racks will be installed, and that never happened. So I gave them my email and they told me that they would do that. So that didn't happen. So that was kind of like an instance of like bad communication, I guess. But yeah.
Daniel?
So I know, just as another idea for the basketball court, so it takes up somewhere between 12 to 15 parking spaces as it stands now. Now I know on that fence line that is on that exterior fence line by like building 3-4, that I know that there are some cars that park there, but not 12 to 15 cars that park there. So even if they were to like take the actual physical basketball court and just slide it over to that fence line, then students would be able to still use it 24 hours a day, but then you open up that pathway again as it was originally intended. So, I mean, don't get rid of the basketball court, just quite literally like slide it 200 feet to the left. That way people can still drive like through in between those two buildings. That's another idea.
Yeah. Okay, Jacqueline, did you have another point?
Yeah, and one more thing. I think we might have gone over this, but there is another gate on the side next to like 1 or 2, and that's been closed for a while. Do you know why? And if we can open that up to make it more accessible and helpful?
Go ahead, Daniel.
I actually asked that question of the RC whenever I very first moved in, because it used to be open at least a little bit in the mornings, and at night I used to talk to the maintenance guy that would open it every morning walking to work. So he said that the motor that's on the gate is broken and that housing has told him that they don't have the funding to fix it. Now, I don't know the accurateness of that. Like I said, it was just an employee that I would talk to him every morning. He would unlock the chain and open the gate. But I know that's what they said, and that it wouldn't be able to, even if it were active, it would only be an exit. It wouldn't be an entrance. But that's, at least to my knowledge, why they said that gate doesn't work. And then they had an individual come on to campus that came into Liberty, which is why they closed it completely.
Yeah, it's an additional liability if we have it open. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to close discussion on this topic.
Carrie said motion.
Seconded.
All right. Does anyone have anything to add to new business? Any topics we need to discuss? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to advisor comments from Master Jedi Subaru President and Advisor Neves.
I'm shocked that that has carried over. I have someone in this group to thank for that. All right, so good. It was a good. I'm trying to think of where to begin. Y'all talked about a lot of good things. What the first thing that came to my mind was I enjoyed hearing some of the positive feedback at the beginning of the follow-ups, that you are getting good responses back to some of the issues that you are identifying and reporting. And so I think that, that's always good to thank y'all for following back up and reporting on that, because it's also good for leadership and faculty and staff to hear about when things are going good and when things are addressed, because that, we want to make sure that we are living up to those expectations. So I got excited when I heard some of that, because that told me that people are following up and doing a good job on that. Um, on the women's product, it has been reported to us there may be a few spots on campus that are running low. I know that and Dr. Andy Kraus has been very responsive and supportive of that program that started many years ago in collaboration with student government. And so if there are any issues, just putting my other hat on, I'm happy to be kept in the loop on that. Our Patriot Pantry has historically also carried items as well, but we are getting low. And so we are going to look at to try to have a donation drive in March as part of Women's History Month, just to not only raise awareness across campus, but to also make sure that the Patriot Pantry has plenty of items in stock. So I wanted to share that with everybody. The the conversation about meal plans was fascinating. We are locked into a contract with our current food provider, which is Sodexo. And we recently got a new general manager for our campus. And I know that he is trying to get us rocking and rolling for the spring semester, as COVID has also impacted that team. And so he has been great to work with. Thus far, he is trying to implement new things. He's asking students what they want. Another good example is the sushi. I'm not sure if any of y'all have had the sushi on campus. It is good, in my opinion. Good price, and for the quality you get, it's good price. And just something new like that has been refreshing, and he's helped do things like that. So I think some of the items that y'all discussed today, I think would be a good conversation to ask to see what we can do in the interim. But some of the things that were being suggested are contractually locked in. And so that is something that is more of a long-term fix that we would have to address. But, one of the things that was talked about is room and board are tied together. So when you live in O-Hall, you only have the ability to select a certain number of meal plans. When you live in an apartment complex, you have the option of more, I don't want to call them commuter plans, but they're not as meal plan heavy compared to O-Hall. And so when you live in an apartment, you actually have the same amount. Now, all students are automatically enrolled in the lowest meal plan possible. And then your room and board charge is based on that. And so room and board, which is also tied to financial aid, is tied to your cost of attendance. And so there is a standard housing and meal plan charge that is tied together. When students elect to go to a different meal plan, that is an additional charge that is incurred by the student. So the student is opting in for a different meal plan that is often always more expensive. And so one of the things, that I would advise students on is, if you are not using your meal swipes, then I would wonder can those swipes be used for other things? Or is the hours not appropriate? Because we want to make sure our students are living a healthy or taking care of themselves, and students need to eat. And so if students are not eating, that is a concern to me. And so I want to make sure that and I would agree that Jamie, who's our general manager, he would also want to hear that too, that if students are not having enough opportunity to use those swipes, then that's something that we need to look at and try to address sooner rather than later. As far as the dining dollars, I think COVID has really challenged us on that because the way courses are delivered right now are kind of up in the air. And although I know there's right now for this semester, we have started online, or majority of the classes are online, but we're hoping and keeping our fingers crossed that we transition back into in-person. So the advice I would get to a student is okay, if you had a lot of dining dollars last semester that were not used, how can you budget from here to the end of the semester to ensure that you use it and maximize your meal plan so that way you're not wasting any money? And so that's the best advice I can give. And it's the same advice I give to students I see every day in Chick-fil-A, because they're going to run out of dining dollars pretty quick. And so this is a great financial literacy opportunity to train our students on to how to budget something that's not physical like money. It's more of, I have a meal plan and I have dining dollars. How do I budget this to make it last the entire semester? So that's typically the advice I give. But I think as we get closer to looking, I'm not sure when our Sodexo contract ends or is coming up, but I know many years ago, when we switched to Sodexo, student government was heavily involved in that process and providing feedback on what students then wanted, and what type of meal plans we wanted. And so I anticipate as we get closer to a new contract, that similar process would happen, because we are a much different institution now than we were several years ago. And the need for dining services has only increased. And so I think there are some things, and as someone said it earlier, it might have been Casey, I think there might be some things that we can fix short term, but some of the things that were discussed today, those are more long-term fixing that we're going to have to do based on the contract. And that could result in the cost of the meal plan going up. And so that's something to keep in mind as well. Trying to think, go through my notes. I do want to remind everybody about committees. Several of y'all are on committees, whether it be student government or university or both. I can't stress the importance of that. If you are on a university committee, please make sure to communicate if you're not able to attend. Or if you are able to attend, make sure not to miss a meeting, because faculty and staff do really value input from students, and that only happens if you're present. So if something happens, just make sure to over communicate with whoever is chairing or organizing that meeting. Other than that, keep up the good work. We're close to 7 o'clock, and I'm extremely proud of y'all for having a productive meeting and already getting things addressed for this semester. It's hard to believe we're in the third week of school.
Thanks, Josh. Just to piggyback off of what he said on the university committees, please let me know, please. I don't get the communications for those committees, so I and the rest of the e-board am relying on y'all to show up and take care of business in regards to those committees. If you're not able to attend, let us know and we'll help you out. It's not supposed to be a huge burdensome thing. For example, not to call Valerie out, but she has a lot on her plate, and so she was unable to attend a meeting this week, and we took care of it. And I'm just going to step in. That's fine. We're glad to do that, but we need to know ahead of time. So just keep up with it. Check your email frequently for things from me and Ashlyn, as well as university committees. And if you're no longer able to attend or are going to have to miss a meeting, let us know so we can send someone to your place. Can I get a thumbs up emoji on that one? That one's important. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to just general announcements. The JCPenney Suit Up event is happening this Friday. It's virtual, so all of you guys can take advantage of it. Basically, you get 40% off of select business attire items through JCPenney. I know last year I went and I got a full suit, heels, a belt, all of it for only $100, which is crazy. Like, that's so cheap. So definitely recommend taking advantage of that, especially those of you who are near graduation. Like I said, it's 40% off and it's virtual. You can find all the information on the career success sites and everything. Okay, and then the last announcement I have is Senator of the Week. What? Awesome. So I guess we can't really do a drum roll. This is kind of lame. Our Senator of the Week is Beverly. Yay! The virtual claps really just get me. It's so funny. So Beverly, congratulations. I just want to thank you for your hard work. I definitely appreciate you making sure that our campus is accessible. Making sure the buttons work is an easy way to do that. So we appreciate you. Okay, does anyone else have any announcements? Any events going on campus? Okay. Seeing none, I'll just remind you guys, next week will be the College of Engineering and the Houston Engineering Campus. Very much looking forward to hearing from y'all. And if no one else has anything, then I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Carrie said.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, do a thumbs up emoji. Someone wants to stay, I can tell. I'm just kidding. Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, as Josh said, I greatly appreciate y'all's hard work. Week 2, no guest speakers, and we still went over an hour. That's awesome. I love to see you guys making our campus better for ourselves and the rest of the student body. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next Tuesday, still via Zoom.